Ask an AI a question and it answers instantly, fluently, and with total confidence. Ask it something it doesn't know, and it will do the exact same thing. Answer instantly, fluently, and with total confidence. The problem is that from the outside, those two situations look identical. The machine sounds just as sure when it's right as when it's inventing. This behavior has a name. The industry calls it hallucination. And the uncomfortable truth, the one you rarely hear in the marketing, is that it may not be a bug that gets patched out. It may be baked into how these systems work at the deepest level. Let's look at why. No hype, just the mechanism. Start with what an AI language model is actually doing, because almost everyone gets this wrong. It is not looking up facts in a database. It is not reasoning about the world the way you do. At its core, it is doing one thing over and over, predicting the next word. Given all the text so far, it asks what word most plausibly comes next. Then it picks one, adds it, and asks again. Fluent paragraphs are just that question answered a few hundred times in a row. It learned to make those predictions by reading a staggering amount of text. Books, websites, code, conversations. From all of that, it absorbed the patterns of language and, along the way, a huge amount of real information, because true statements appear in text far more often than any single false one. So when you ask a well-known fact, the most plausible next words usually are the correct ones. The capital of France shows up as Paris millions of times. The model has no trouble. The trouble starts at the edges. Ask about something obscure, something the training text barely covered, or something that doesn't exist at all, and the model faces the same task it always faces. Produce plausible next words. It has no separate signal that says, I don't actually know this. It was never trained to stop. It was trained to continue. So it continues, and it generates words that have the shape of a correct answer. A confident-sounding fact, a real-looking citation, a plausible name, even when there's nothing true underneath. This is the key insight, so sit with it. To the model, generating a true fact and generating a convincing fabrication are the same operation. Both are just plausible sequences of words. There is no internal switch that flips between recalling and inventing. It is always doing the second thing. When the invention happens to match reality, we call it knowledge. When it doesn't, we call it a hallucination. But the machine is doing the identical thing in both cases, which is why it can't warn you. It genuinely does not know the difference. Now, why is this so hard to fix? Because the very thing that makes these models useful is the same thing that makes them hallucinate. We want a model that can handle any question, fill in gaps, and produce smooth, complete answers. That flexibility, the willingness to always generate something, is inseparable from the willingness to generate something false. A model that only ever spoke when it was certain would be silent most of the time, and nearly useless. The fluency and the fabrication come from the same engine. You can see the deepest version of the problem in fake citations. Ask certain models for sources and they will sometimes produce a perfectly formatted reference. Real-sounding author, plausible journal, believable year, and a title that fits the topic exactly. Every piece looks right because the model has seen thousands of real citations and learned their shape. It's assembling a citation the way it assembles any sentence, by plausibility. It has no ability to check whether that paper exists because checking is a completely different skill from generating, and generating is all it does. So the companies building these systems are not sitting still. They bolt on defenses. They connect the model to live search so it can look things up instead of guessing. They train it to say, I'm not sure more often. They add separate fact-checking passes. And these help sometimes a lot. But notice what's happening. Every one of these fixes is a layer wrapped around the model, not a change to the core. The underlying engine is still a next word predictor that will confidently continue past the edge of its knowledge. We are managing the symptom, building fences around a thing that will always wander if you let it. And this matters far beyond trivia. People are using these systems for medical questions, legal research, financial decisions. There have been real cases of lawyers submitting court filings full of cases the AI invented, cases that sounded completely real and did not exist. The danger isn't that the machine is wrong sometimes. Every tool is wrong sometimes. The danger is that it is wrong with the exact same confidence it has when it's right, so the human has no signal to catch it. Which points to the only reliable defense we actually have today, and it's an old-fashioned one: verification. Treat a confident AI answer the way a good editor treats a confident intern. Useful, fast, often correct, and never to be trusted on anything that matters without checking the source yourself. The tool is at its best when it drafts, summarizes, and suggests, and at its most dangerous when you let it be the final authority on a fact you can't verify. So why does AI confidently make things up? Because it does not know things the way you assume it does. Predicts plausible language, and plausible is not the same as true. Generating a fact and inventing one are the same act to the machine, which is why it can't tell you which it just did. And because that behavior comes from the very core that makes these models work, it may never be fully fixed, only fenced in. The honest way to hold this: these systems are extraordinary language engines and unreliable truth engines, at the same time, and understanding that difference is the single most useful thing you can know about them. Next on the list, we look at what actually happens inside one of the giant buildings where these models run, and why the real bottleneck for the entire AI industry turns out to be electricity. Subscribe.